All right. So what we're going to be walking through today is just the um, one of the, I guess, pain points in accepting recurring gifts through Online Express. From people I've spoken with in the past, it's been kind of a tedious process in order to um, just go in every day, automate those people who sign up for recurring gifts. And so I actually worked on a project not too terribly long ago. Um, Company really wanted to automate that process and find a way to do that through Power Automate. And after a lot of trial and error, that's essentially what we were able to do. So I'll go ahead and share. Hold on 1 second. Um, we're just going to do the entire window. All right, so I've posted my Power Automate flow on the community. So it's a very, very basic flow. It doesn't take a whole lot to get up and running. So the main things that you're going to need are the Sky add-ins connector. Uh, there's an optional. I said the way that it's set up is it goes through. It pulls every recurring gift that was made for that day, attempts to convert it to an automated recurring gift, and then it will send an email to whoever you decide for all those that were successful and any of the gifts that were attempted but that failed. Some of the reasons that they might fail is that there was no token attached to it. And we'll talk about the tokens here in a little bit. Or if some organizations will set up their recurring gifts via, um, they'll put like those that get who pay monthly by cash or check or anything like that. If it has those payment types, it will not convert, obviously, because it's not a credit card. And another one right now, haven't figured out quite the limitation is can't convert direct debit. But so this is primarily works for any types of credit cards. So um, just need the Blackbaud Sky and add in Outlook 365, the gifts, and the constituents. And really, the only thing that you need to do to set this flow up is your Blackbaud Payment Services configuration ID. So if we hop on over to the flow itself, again, it's a very basic flow. So I have this set up to run every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, if you opt to use this flow, you could change it to whatever time is applicable for you. And then we're setting a couple of variables to start the flow. So we're going to build an array of the gifts and the constituents who we successfully convert, because we're going to put this in a table later. And then the failed conversions. So we're going to go through a couple of loops through each iteration, and anyone that fails for any type of those reasons that we discussed earlier, it's going to post those to this array as well. And then finally, your Blackbaud Payment Services configuration ID. So this flow could require some additional configuration if your organization happens to use multiple BBPS configuration IDs. The way that it's set up right now, it's just for one variable, or it's just for one configuration ID. And so if we go over to, we'll start this from the beginning. So we go over to the Sky API and we go to the API reference and then merchant services. The only endpoint is payments. We'll do endpoint reference. So if you don't know what your BBPS configuration ID is, there's an endpoint on, or there's an action on the payments endpoint for get configuration or get payment configuration list. And if you have the Sky API hooked up, you can just try it here and we'll just do this. Once you hit send, it's going to give you a list of all of your, don't want to go down too far, but it'll give you a list of all of your individual IDs. Show you what that looks like. Here's kind of the basic schema that they show. So what you want is this ID right here. You'll copy and paste just the value into this variable. And then the next step is we're going to go and get all of the GIFs that were, so it's set up with a start of the day variable. So any GIF from the day that the automation is running from any GIF that was entered with a recurring gift type, it's going to go and grab a list of those GIFs. Next, we're going to loop through each of those GIFs and we're going to check this is where you need the custom HTTP request connector for Sky add-ins, because this endpoint isn't available in the Power Automate connectors. But you're going to check if that gift can be converted. And so we're going to parse through all that. And it's going to give you, it'll be easier to see over here. It's called recurring gift eligibility for automated processing. And so the only thing that's required is the gift ID for that endpoint, and it's just checking if it can be converted. And what's going to come back is whether a token will be required. Most of them are going to be yes. And then any type of errors. So if it can't be converted, then it's going to give you an error. And the way that I've got this set up, when the email is sent out to when the email is sent out or distributed, it's going to, if it fails for this conversion reason, then it's going to give you that specific message as to why it can't be converted. So we're going to parse all of that out. And then our first condition is obviously, can it be converted? If it can be converted, then we're going to go get that individual gift record, because on that record will be the token that you'll need to convert. And then our next condition that we're going to check is making sure that the output or the payment type isn't cash. Since we can't convert cash, then we're going to go ahead and skip those. We'll append that particular gift to the can't be converted and give it a reason of that it can't be converted because the payment is the type of cash. So if it can be converted and the payment's not a type of cash, then we're going to go get the individual constituent record for that gift. We're going to check if that payment token is available. So essentially what this is just checking that account token isn't blank. If it is blank, then we're going to append to the failed response or the failed conversions as to the token is blank. That's the reason. Typically, those are for your direct debits. And if it's not, all those three conditions are met, then we're going to hit the endpoint for converting the automated recurring gift. So that's going to be a post request to the convert to automatic. And we're going to pass it the account token, which we've pulled from the individual gift record itself. And then we're also going to pass it the BBPS configuration ID, which we set in that initial variable. So as I mentioned earlier, if you do have multiple BBPS tokens that you want to use in the flow, then you're going to have to write in more conditional logic at the front if a gift meets, this campaign or this appeal type, and you want to use a different configuration, then all of that can be set up with conditional logic, and that's pretty straightforward. So one of the reasons that we had to kind of go this route in dealing with you can't just go get your BBPS token from the merchant services endpoint. So through Power Automate, as of right now, the merchant services endpoint is the only one that's not available to hit through the custom HTTP action from the SkyN connector. So when we looked at, over here, so when we look at all these solutions, this merchant services and this payments, it's not accessible just because a lot of security around transactions hasn't been set up yet. I don't know if there's going to be any movement in trying to get that available via Power Automate, but that's why we can't kind of go in and hit that endpoint initially, bring all of those in through Power Automate and do it there. It's kind of a manual process to get all of those IDs set up initially, and then kind of hard code them into Power Automate. And then finally, we're going to check for a 200 return code on the HTTP request, on the post request, to make sure that everything posted correctly. If it did, then we're going to append that that successful conversion to our initial table. And if for some reason we don't get a 200, which is just saying a successful request is posted, we're going to append that to the failed conversions. And then I close these up. And then that's really all the major part of the logic in terms of getting the actual conversions done. The rest of this is just kind of prettying up, creating HTML tables and adding custom CSS to make the tables that we're going to put in the emails prettier. So we're going to convert both of the tables that we created from the arrays, add the custom CSS for both tables, and then we're just going to send an email. And the way that I have it formatted is just sending it to myself, saying these recurring gifts are converted on, it grabs today's date, and then the output of those two. And just to kind of show you what that looks like, this is what that table looks like when that email comes through. And that is pretty much it. Again, the flow is saved out to the community if you want to download it and implement it. And happy to take any questions at this point if anybody has any.